Okay. I've been seeing a lot of this. Welcome everyone. I've been seeing a lot of this banding around. This Terrence Howard going around. Apparently it's an interview with Joe Rogan. And I'm just trying to kind of understand a little bit what all of this is all about. So let's check bits of this interview. Let's see.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
Everything, all motion is expressed in waves. All waves are expressed in curves. It always makes spirals.
So because of the concept of gravity and because of the concept of this event horizon, this super point of gravity, this infinite point that light can't even escape, that this exists because of the
their
theory
math
of gravity.
and their math. Remember, they have a thing called zero. They go from 1 to 0 to -1. There is no zero to even think zero.
So do you think that zero is a concept that came along with currency?
It should be attached to currency in that regard, because in physics, it's either nothing remains still. There's nothing still in the universe. There's nothing that doesn't have motion because everything is connected. So if one thing is still, everything that's connected to it has to be still. There can never be one thing still. So as electricity tries to get to its balanced state, right when it gets there, magnetism takes over and it pushes over. So there's this pendulum. And as soon as it gets to this state, it bounces off that other noble gas and it makes its way all the way back over here and it's about to have equanimity. And then it gets pulled back into the other direction. And that's the breathing in and breathing out and the pendulum effect that we've all observed in natural phenomena in the universe.
And that's a part of everything.
Everything behaves that way. Every one of our cells. Comes down to our cells are made up of water, mostly water, 80%, 90% water somewhere. Water is hydrogen. Hydrogen has 12 vortices. That's behaving with it, 12 opposing vortices.
So what, in your model, what happens to these suns when they supernova?
Everything gets old and die.
Everything gets old and die. And does everything recompress?
Has to. And you breathe out, what happens to that air? Another plant breathes that air in.
So would this be the universe itself? Would it be galaxies? Would it be...
Everything behaves the same way.
So as the sun expands and projects and ejects particles, they expand, they go further and further from the sun, and at a certain point, they come back.
Well, at a certain point, what do they hit? There's other expanding stars
So like waves colliding.
Yes.
And retreating.
But what is he talking about? Okay. I'm confused by what's going on. All right, everything's connected. Okay. In terms of the breathing and stuff like that, I get that aspect of it. Because we breathe in, we breathe in and we breathe out, and then all of this then translates into the other sort of plants like he described there. But and ultimately, yes, well, everything will grow old and die. I get that bit. But how does this then translate to the galaxy?
At a certain point, what do they hit? There's other expanding stars
So like waves colliding.
Yes.
And
From the other star systems. They have an expanding, what is the thing, the solar wind. They have expanding solar winds. Mm-hmm. So when they meet our star meets the solar wind from another star at that end of that spot. Now there's two pressure conditions. So you have another Lagrange spot that's happening there. That's when those waves start coming back, but they get hit. And if they hit at 120 degrees, because that's how the universe is arranged, now these things become electric. So they, instead of coming from the planar side and expanding out at the equator, they now come back up from the northern and southern parts.
So does this account for stellar nurseries?
Yes. All of these things are just pressure conditions hitting each other. And they're causing that. That's where the Birkeland currents are running through, those higher electrical fields. but everything in the universe is just electricity. And we call it magnetism when it's devitalized, but it's still electricity. We call the radiative side, it's the feminine side. And the contractive side is the positive, masculine side. It's a balance, and it's never been anything but that.
Okay, so male and female in terms of like, yeah, I get what is, but based on what is the theory?
And the contractive side is the positive, masculine side. It's a balance, and it's never been anything but that balance, and we've complicated it with a lie.
If you're right, so many people are wrong.
Everyone's wrong. Oh, well, the universe backs me up, and I have the proof of it. You have all these physicists that's saying something different, but none of them have 97 patents. None of them have introduced a new form of flight with unlimited mid-air bonding. None of them have discovered 4 supersymmetrical systems. This is what we've done. This is what the collective is able to do when you put yourself into the divine space. Because that spirit is waiting. It's just like, okay, are you going to make yourself available for it?
So let me ask you this. If I had
Okay, what is this divine space that we're talking about now? We're not going into some dodgy realms now, are we? Okay, so he's saying that he's been able to work these patterns out, right? Okay, I'm hoping stop. Let's listen to the guy.
When you put yourself into the divine space. Because that spirit is waiting. It's just like, okay, are you going to make yourself available for it?
So let me ask you this. If I had a magic wand and I allowed you to not just show this, but allowed all of these people that have these opposing ideas, you debate them, you duke it out, you emerge victorious, okay? With this magic wand, and now people go, just listen to Terrence. What do we do?
Well, then we write new axioms and new postulates based off the real wave conjugations. Now we adjust our understanding of our physics to fit natural phenomena. And then we are in balance with it, and we have to let go of the idea of this currency. We're the only creatures in the known universe that uses currency, that uses an indirect form of payment instead of a direct exchange. We have to get past that point, and that's the hard thing, because this entire world is run on that, and that's where the 1 × 1 = 2 came into its real birth.
Well, the thing about currency is it's connected to technological innovation because of this.
1 × 1 does not equal 2. Oh, am I going crazy? 1 × 1 does not equal 2. I might be going mad. For a minute there, I was thinking I was going crazy. What is he going on about? What does 1 × 1 = 2 nonsense come? What's that?
Came into its.
Hold on, I need to hear
that point, and that's the hard thing, because this entire world is run on that, and that's where the 1 × 1 = 2 came into its real birth.
Well, the thing about currency is it's connected to technological innovation because of this unlimited potential for growth. And when you have an unlimited potential for growth, you have people that are extremely motivated to make massive amounts of money, and they innovate in a very high way. And then they also implement that innovation in the form of technology.
But their technology is antiquated compared to mine. There's no government on this planet that has the technology that I have or can outdo what I have, because you can't outdo the fractal.
How many people have you... I know you spoke at Oxford about this, but you didn't speak...
Yeah, they didn't. Oxford did something that broke my heart. 5 minutes before the presentation, they wouldn't allow me to have a screen and show my proof.
Why?
Oh, their computer was down. And I was like, well, you can use my computer. No, we have sensitive things attached to it. I just need the projector. I don't need anything else, because they didn't want me to go and talk about this. And that's why I went out there and said, hey, pull out your calculator. I talked about acting for a couple minutes, for 20 minutes. And then I was like, pull out your calculator. And I want you to enter the square root of 2 in there. And let's walk through this loop. That is the square root of 2. I was like, let's walk through this, where the square root of 2 cubed is the same value as the square root of 2 times 2. And then when you divide it by 2 and cube it again, you get back to you take the square root of 2, 1.414213562373095. You cube it, it's 2.828427121746190. Divide it by 2, it gets back to 1.414. Cube it again, is back to 2.828. Divided by 2, back to 1.414. Here we're taking 1, 2, 3 big steps. We're dividing it by 2, and we get back to the same value as we had in the very beginning. That's a loop. That's x cubed being equal to 2x, which is equal to x plus x. That's an unnatural equation. And every quantum mechanics and quantum physics equation has that square root of 2 in there. We've been living in this lie, this fostered lie, for so long.
And what's the solution to that?
The solution is learning how to multiply volumetrically, how the universe multiplies. And I've already produced all of these things.
Could you explain that, though?
Why is he not showing any of this stuff here? This evidence is meant to have. Why is he not showing any of them? I'm just a little bit... I don't know. I like this guy. Like, I've seen him act. I'm just struggling to kind of make sense of what it is that he's going on about. It's okay. I don't know.
The solution is learning how to multiply volumetrically, how the universe multiplies. And I've already produced all of these things.
Could you explain that, though, to the layperson? How does the universe multiply volumetrically as opposed to the way...
It does not move, does it linearly. It does not walk on. All of our math is based upon a two-dimensional projection. What they do in calculus, they will reduce the action of all things. They'll keep trying to reduce it down to one moment, because they believe Newton's first law that everything moves in a straight line, or everything is still until acted upon. They forget that everything is in motion, and that concert of motion is a necessity. They have to include all the other forces involved in order to have equanimity in their equations.
And so how...
I've just spotted this. So his shirt is saying the square root of 2 equals whatever. I can't see the other end of it. Okay. What did this guy study? And I'm asking this question because I need to try and understand what is basing all of this things that he's got on. It would be really, really good to kind of, if you know, please let me know in the comment section below. I'll check afterwards.
They have to include all the other forces involved in order to have equanimity in their equations.
And so how, in a practical sense, does this affect mathematics?
Well, once we let go of Cartesian space and the 90-degree angles, well, picture this. Let's take another practical place. Look at a computer chip. It has all of these 90-degree turns.
When we skip into a computer chip to why are we not answering the question? There was a very straightforward question here.
Sense does this affect mathematics?
Well, once we let go of Cartesian space and the 90-degree angles, well, picture this. Let's take another practical place. Look at a computer chip. It has all of these 90-degree turns on it, typically, where they run the electricity. Can you imagine running at 186,624 miles a second in one direction, and you hit a wall, and you've got to stop, bounce off of that wall, and then you pick up your speed and you bounce off the next wall, and you bounce off the next and next and the next and the next. How much heat are you building up? How much friction is being built up from the interference in comparison to if it was just spherical, just going around? It would build up no heat, And if you allow it to be spiral, which my patent was talking about, that first patent was talking about, you're able to utilize all that energy so you don't need the cooling systems. You don't need all of this loss or entropy. None of that occurs when you go by universal standards. That's all they have to do is follow what the universe does. We have the contractive side, patented, ready and available. We have the expanded side, patented, worked out already, ready and available, and we've got the Constitution between the two of them.
But how does that affect in a practical use? If you're using math on a calculator, what is wrong with what the calculator is saying?
The calculator right now is still saying that we're on a linear path, and it's just multiplying things in a compartmentalized space.
So by reductionist viewpoint, by breaking things down to simple numbers, that you really can't just do that.
You can try to do it, but it's like the piano. Remember the piano, the earlier pianos, they had, before they compartmentalized, and everything was, remember that everything in the universe expands as a sphere. Everything. Even music expands as a sphere. But what they did with the piano is they took all the 12 notes and then they just start them all over again instead of accounting for the expansion, that space. So you would never, if you're looking at the periodic table, you would never get to the titanium or to the rubidium or to the cesium because
How does that make sense in basic maths? That's the question. Why are we waffling? And I waffle. I know how to. And I catch myself sometimes waffling. And I can just see patterns here of this guy doing exactly the same stuff. Why are we not, unless you don't understand the stuff? My understanding of a basic calculator is what you feed in, that's what it feeds back to you. So it's about understanding what you need to feed into it for it to feed it back to you. So I need to understand what it is that he's saying is wrong, and I can't get that. We've jumped to the periodic table, and then we've jumped to music and the piano. Just feed me the
notes. And then they just start them all over again instead of accounting for the expansion, that space. So you would never, if you're looking at the periodic table, you would never get to the titanium or to the rubidium or to the cesium because they would all keep it with just the 7 tones. They don't allow for the necessary expansion. So you don't have all of these other isotopes to use because they keep things here. You don't allow your child, nope, you're not going to get taller. I need you to stay just at 4 feet. That's the height. That's how high you can go. You will not be allowed to grow further. And we naturally keep growing and expanding out. So they have to allow that, but their math doesn't allow it because it believes in a 2-dimensional space. And remember, there are no 2-dimensional spaces because in order for anything to be perceived, it has to be measurable. And measurable needs 3 dimensions, but it actually needs 4. It needs your perspective. You are the 4th dimension. And that's what Walter Russell also talked about, that it was 4 things coming together. And that's what woke me back up. And I was like, 4 bubbles meeting. But he still believed in the idea of straight lines. He was still hemmed in by it. And he's right. There becomes a cube sphere. There comes a point where everything comes together. But even, hold on, I'm going to try and pull up.
Is it because that we can create straight lines that we get confused?
We can't create it because even when you look at it under an electron microscope, you'll see all the little curved dots that make it up. There are no straight lines. Like if you look at this.
Right, even in a box.
If you looked at this, you'll say, oh, that's a square right there. Right in the middle.
Sure.
You'll see that square happening right there.
Uh-huh.
But if you look at it from the side, from its real perspective.
Did anybody else think that was a square? I didn't think it was. Is Joe Rogan just humoring this dude? I did anybody think that was a square? I didn't think it was at all.
You'll say, oh, that's a square right there, right in the middle.
Sure.
You'll see that square happening right there.
Uh-huh.
But if you look at it from the side, from its real perspective, you see that it's not. The straight lines are an illusion. Again, we are being fooled by our senses because there is no motion in the straight line. So all these homes that they're building, and they keep wondering, why do they keep blowing over? Why don't you make the homes look like a mushroom? Follow the curvature of nature, and you won't have to worry about rebuilding them in hurricane zones or in tornado zones. It'll go right over it. They don't make airplanes that's just a straight box. They've allowed it to be aerodynamic and curved. They moved away from the straight lines in that aspect. In boats, they don't have the Noah's Ark moving across like this.
Yeah, but it could be something could be said for the architectural planning, isn't it? And if that was followed precisely the way it was planned out, or if there were some money saving tricks that have been kind of taken whilst the construction was being put into action, because it depends, isn't it? If you're building your own house, the amount of if you're building your own house from scratch, the amount of dedication you put into that versus when you're building a house for the masses, sometimes people forget that this is for other people and their safety comes first. They just think, oh, how much is going to cost me? Which can then explain why you end up with some of them kind of falling apart with the slightest wind. So I don't know, because there are loads of buildings that have been able to withstand walls, withstand earthquake, and they're still going, and they weren't built in that way.
Be aerodynamic and curved. They moved away from the straight lines in that aspect. In boats, they don't have the Noah's Ark moving across like this. They don't do that. Like I said, no man would be attracted to a Cartesian woman, to a Euclidean woman. Something just straight like this. We need the curvature, like Alan Watts said. We need the wiggles. We like the wiggles attached to it.
Yeah, that makes sense about homes.
Why do they keep making them flat when? And they keep getting blown over. I don't know what the fuck.
Because they're easy to make.
They're easy to make, but it's easier to make the curved ones. It would be much simpler to do it, but all of our technology is built on these bricks of the platonic solid. So now we have new building materials with what I've introduced. Entirely new building materials that we can use.
Does he live in one of them now? Now that he's come up with this massive, fantastic idea, does he live in one of these sort of houses?
That have proven, and it's super symmetrical, that you don't have to just stay with the rectangle.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was the end of the video. All right. I don't know what's going on here. Somebody let me know what's going on. I like this guy as an actor. I remember when Empire came out. It was really, really good. I've seen him in other films as well. I can't remember, but when Empire came out, to be fair, I think I only saw the first and the second episode, and then it started getting the first and the second season, and then it started getting silly. I think that's what got me away from it. I can't remember what it was, but yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure about this. There's just there's a side of me that thinks some of this has got to be clickbaity. There's got to be some level of attention that is being gathered here from some people that think, oh my days, this guy's a genius, to, oh my days, is this guy okay? Often, either way, negative or positive, we're talking about the guy. But a lot of the things that he's talking about there, I am struggling to make sense of them. When it comes to the housing explanation, back in the good old days, if you go into the villages, For example, like back in Nigeria, you've got some of the villages that still build the huts and stuff like that, but they use like clay to build there. When you, I don't know if it is necessarily about it being a lot more firmer, long standing. I don't think that's the reasoning behind that, because the same structure, the same product is now being used to build rectangular houses, and they're doing it. What it does is that it keeps the cooling system in, and also it is a lot of, it's got to do a lot with the structure and how it is you follow the planning, because there are thousands of structures in and around the world that have been able to survive the length of time that are rectangular. So what is the explanation for those ones that have been able to do that? It's just things are built differently these days. And this explanation of 1 times 1 being 2, though, what's going on there? What's going on there? Oh my days. Some people would say my brain's not large enough to be able to comprehend what he's saying, I would imagine. Yeah, no. Just thinking about it logically. I don't know. Man, I might be missing something, and I'm sure somebody's going to let me know in the comment section below. Damn. What did this guy study? Did he study something physics related or maths related or whatever? I'm just intrigued. Is there something that is now a new adventure for him? I'm just interested. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. I'm intrigued. Are you? Until next time, people, you guys make sure you look after yourself and you stay safe. Keep leaving your recommendations in the comment section below, and I'll react to them as quickly as possible. Until next time, people, it has been Kings. Peace. Bye for now.